Hi and welcome on this very special International Jazz Day. My name is Fiona Ross from Women in Jazz Media, and we're presenting this wonderful discussion with a couple of incredible guests that I'm very excited to speak to on this fantastic celebrating jazz and everything it entails day. So happy to have the fantastic Jeremy Pelt and Adriana Mateo. Welcome, both of you. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And I have to say also an extra celebration. Obviously, we are Women in Jazz Media because you've just been nominated for a Lifetime Achievement in Photography Award, Adriana, haven't you?
Yes, it's just fresh. I just got to know yesterday. I'm on the ballot. Thank you. I'm on the ballot, and I got to know last night actually. So I didn't have a chance even to tell anyone. You're the first two I tell, and they're wonderful professionals on that ballot. So just to be nominated is, is precious.
It's wonderful, and I mean, we've shared an awful lot of your work, and we had an article about you in our last magazine because you know how much I love your work and the work you've done. So yeah, this award is so well deserved, and I'm very excited for you. But of course, a lot of the work that you do, you also need inspiring musicians to capture. And Jeremy, I have to say, and I would love to kind of chat to you further about your work and explore that on another occasion, because your work is also incredible. And your recent work, in fact, I've ordered a few things which haven't arrived yet, but I'm so excited to kind of explore your work further. But you're amazing.
Well, thank you so much.
That's my pleasure.
Okay, he definitely is.
No, he really is. Absolutely. I haven't seen you live, but we'll talk about that because obviously you have, Adriana.
I just left London too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was just at
really?
at the beginning of April. Well, not just, but I mean, it was at the April 8th. I was there.
Oh gosh, I'm really sad I missed it. Okay, well, I'm going to keep an eye out next time you come over. Although I need to come to New York, but we digress. But honestly, so good to have you. And what I thought would be really good to do is explore that relationship between photographer and artist and musician, because I think sometimes the importance of that relationship is not explored enough. I mean, certainly with social media, we see loads of wonderful photos. And I know that, I don't know, we've quite often discussed that, credit is not given to the photographer. And then also as musicians, we need photos for promo and, articles, all that kind of thing. And I think that's just the depth of that and the importance of that and the importance of a good photographer, a great photographer in this case, but also capturing what the musician is doing is something that is not often explored. So I'd love to have a chat to you about how you two kind of have met and worked together. So let's start with how you first met. So I don't actually know how you first met. So how did you find each other? I don't know who wants to start. Jeremy?
Well, my recollection, I was thinking about this question earlier today, and I'm sure I'm not speaking out of turn when I say that as far as I remember, our actual meeting, we're not even going to talk about the year because I can't remember the year, and it was a long time ago, but it was Cedar Walton that introduced us at the Vanguard.
Wow.
And I have a funny story about that because he introduced us, and I was significantly younger than I am right now, and I was just really kind of getting into playing with him and being in his good graces and being lucky enough to just hang with him. And I probably was maybe drinking a little bit that night. I imagine it was at the Vanguard. And I don't know what I was thinking, but it was like he comes up to me and says, yes, Lord Pelt, this is Adriana Mateo. She's a photographer. And I said, oh, I must have been tipsy. I was like, oh, another photographer. And it was just the stupidest thing to say. I don't even know why. And to this day, I was trying to think of what, but it was nothing. And of course, anybody that was referred to or, had that kind of meeting, it does not leave a good lasting impression. So I think I spent the next year after that trying to be in her good graces and just be like, Oh, I'm sorry. So that was that. The meeting, the first meeting was not, a delightful one.
It's true. It's true. We met. I think it was between 2008 and 10, but I'm not sure. Definitely closer to 10. And I was already working with Cedar, and yeah, it was just like it. I remember I have someone to introduce you to, and Jeremy comes, and he was young. I mean, he was really starting, but hitting it incredible. I mean, it was my first time working with the next coming generation. So for me, was a true pleasure to hear someone younger come play with Cedar, because I have seen other trumpet players older. The youngest was Roy Hargrove, and then to see him playing with Jeremy was great. And it was going to be a recording as well, which I did. And yes, Jeremy comes along and he says, "Oh, another photographer." You said it without tone. And I remember he was young, but I was quite young too. And I did like a little bit, like I says, "Who do you think he is?" I mean, but I guess we immediately connected. I mean, besides, it was a funny start, and I think we made fun of it right after. And I'm sure Jeremy's a producer, and I have been in several of his production CDs, and including one of his own CD. And for me, he's the youngest of the generations that had all passed. So for me, Jeremy is quite important because he was the first one that I'm quite right now, we're on here on this earth. The others had passed of the elders. So for me, Jeremy had played with all of them. Jeremy is the last one young that truly played with all of them. Wow. And I don't know if people know that, but I had photographed it, so I know.
Yes.
And that's why for me I really felt to be with Jeremy today, because it's a lot of history tied together and with the same masters.
Yeah, and I was going to say, because that initial moment that I love, that initial moment of how you met, but both of you must have realized, and of course, Adriana, you must see, you've worked with so many legends. I mean, your portfolio of work is inspirational. But so you must see lots of kind of young upcoming musicians kind of in the scene. But there was obviously something that you were like, there's something about Jeremy. When you first met that, was the Cedar impact? Do you think it was, well, if Cedar is introducing me to this guy, there's something there? What was it that kind of, was there some kind of magical moment that you were like, because when did you first see Jeremy play? Was it on that occasion?
No, I had heard him play before,
right?
Few times, not many, very few times, and then Cedar told me I was going to be documenting several of those shows. So of course, every time that I'm going to be working with someone, I try to go listen to them first. So I do know how they play and what is the moment to photograph them and all that, of course. So no, I and as his sound, I mean, besides the funny part of how we met, I think we became very, very good. I mean, undoubtedly, Jeremy is probably one of the, in my view, one of the most important contemporary trumpet players right now. And besides what I think about him professionally, we did become friends, very good friends. So it went beyond. We had worked together with many other musicians, many. I worked for Jeremy as well when he produced, but we became friends. And then we had been overseas lately. He was able to come to the festival in Uruguay, Punta del Este's Jazz Festival.
Mhm.
So we had been not only, and I think we had been in Italy, I don't remember, but we had been not only in New York, but Washington and abroad.
Mm. And Jeremy, tell
But I
me, as
guess
a
his sound strike me.
and Jeremy,
His sound
I mean,
strike me from the beginning.
knowing the artists that Adriana has worked with, that must have meant a lot to you to hear initially when she was like, you know, there's something special about you. Was that intimidating at any point when you kind of look at her portfolio and they're kind of genuinely the greats that she's worked with? How did that make you feel?
Well, are you talking about something initial? Because I mean,
Yeah.
unlike Adriana, I was not the type at that point to really do my due diligence.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
along with that kind of meeting where I was like another photographer, the thing about it is that our meeting predates Instagram and all that.
Right.
So
Of course.
whereas these days you can see like, all right, well, let me see what she's got, and you dig in your pocket, get your phone out, and be like, all right.
Yeah.
Back then, you really had to search, and I just didn't search.
I don't think you know me, or it was kind of like now. You know what I mean? I don't think we kind of. I did because Cedar had told me, but
right.
I don't think it was like these days.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and my whole point is that I just didn't at that time. I wasn't. Again, we're talking from an initial sense, Fiona.
Of course.
I'm at the bar trying to be,
Yeah.
trying to be somebody,
Yeah,
and I'm also
you.
drinking. It's not boding well for any kind of research activity. And sometimes things take once you get over yourself. Once I got over myself, and really dig deeper into other types of humanity and such, and with respect and show deference to what all the moving parts of a business and in artistry, then it became clear. But I was also, to your question, I was never the intimidated type.
Okay.
You know what I mean? In any kind of setting, I mean, just as much as she's taking the pictures of all the greats and all the greats that I played with. I came, I've always been the shoot now, ask a question, or whatever, however you put it. I was always the audacious type that was just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And then 2020, hindsight being 2020, look back and be like, damn, I should have been intimidated.
But
I don't think so. I think that even back then, I think it's always photographers should be always invisible and non-noticeable. Maybe someone may feel intimidated if you're in a situation or a photo shoot in a studio or something like that, may intimidate someone. But I don't think they even notice me. To be honest, I never felt being observed or noticed. Not even today. I always there as if I was, I don't know, the bass player or the pianist or the drummer or the trumpet player, like I am, or the singer, or one more. Never always felt like I won. I don't think I have any intimidation. I try not to be, but I suppose at a certain point we all are. When I work with someone, I was intimidated to work with Cedar Walton, of course, but I'm not as important.
Oh, but I didn't mean You know, it's just, I think the legends that you've taken and the work that you've done is quite incredible. I know, just from a personal point of view, if I ever had a photo shoot with you, I would be, oh my God, but she's amazing, all the people she's worked with. So I mean that in the best possible way, just going the legends that you work with. But
No,
you
I think so. I would be very intimidated if anyone that tries to take a photo of me.
yeah.
Usually I don't even, usually my photos, one I have in my web is Jeremy took, and I use it. Then I have one of another colleague, two colleagues, three colleagues. I am intimidated. I don't like people taking photos of me, but I just think that with music, if you're invisible, they're so much into themselves, into their music, that I think you get past through it quickly.
And that's something that we've talked about before, actually, as a photographer, about being invisible, but also how much time and care that you take to understand the music, which not all photographers do. And as I say, I know you actually are a musician in some ways, obviously not a professional musician, but you have a very deep understanding of the music, which is one of the many things that helps you capture those moments. So, Jeremy, I'd like to ask, and I would like to talk about maybe one or two of the projects where you've actually worked together, but kind of generally, because I'm sure you've had photos taken by other photographers. How do you find working with Adriana when you're performing? So if it's a live performance situation, how is that relationship? How do you find the way she captures you? Because she captures you beautifully.
Well, I think the part of that, and actually probably the whole of that, is what she basically said, which is that she tries to be invisible. I mean, you're talking about two different fields of art that occupy two very disparate places. I'm on the stage in my own world, in collusion with the rest of the band, trying to create something right there. She's another eye that has an extra dividend of actually being able to capture something in real time and produce images. But it's the best images when we talk about live are when the musicians are completely unaware, right? So I mean, I don't know that it's. I think it's more of a relationship between that's somewhere in the ethos, rather than something that's talked about beforehand. Because I mean, at that point, it's like I'm going over here and she's going over there, and she's floating all around. So I'm not really there trying to be, and it doesn't work if I'm always
Trying
noticing where he is and being like,
yeah.
it doesn't come off. So
And can you tell me, so what was the first kind of project you worked on together?
I think there were a few projects, but I can tell you about the one that was my own project.
Yes, please.
That I hired her for, is a record that I put out called Water and Earth. And it was limited time that we could work on it. Here's the thing: no matter how photogenic, I'm perceived to be, I'm actually terrible at coming up with any kind of concept.
Okay.
You know what I mean? To be told, it's like I might have one idea. That's it.
Okay.
So photographers had to be magicians, really, to come up with anything else, that makes it, better. I think that project came off, and perhaps you'll find a picture of it. I was not prepared, but I know Adriana's got them. But that cover was really a nice and important one. I basically said, this record, has a fluid kind of concept to it, and something that is equal parts grounded in water and in earth, and so I wanted to capture it. And so, at the time she was living, just outside of the city, and she had this beautiful beach, that we went to, and she was like, all right, grab the sand, you know, and as the water was being washed up, you just see my hands and what, and
Yes,
that was a great
wow.
image.
So
It
Adriana,
was a
how did you
beautiful
come?
album. It
How
is a
did you
beautiful
come up with the
album.
idea?
Well, no, he basically when I know it's going to be a cover, and Jeremy expressed he not wanted to be himself on the cover. And once we established that, he discussed with me what is the CD about? What is the music about? What did you write for? And once as he explained right before, not to be repetitive, I wanted to use his hands. My photography is never a close-up of the hands and the little parts of the trumpets. I'm not that type of photography. Okay. I am about a whole composition, elements that come across. Even if it's a bar or a microphone, I don't care. So everything is a part of that geometry. I did want to have his hands. And so we composed that cover. We took a lot of photos, and we finally got the one that was very, very clear water with the stones on his hands. And I think it's the hands of a trumpet player, you know. But for me, at least, the energy is, so I wanted to do his hands, you know.
And you know,
we couldn't put the trumpet underwater.
What's so great about that is that, and she mentioned something that I forgot to mention to you about that, which is that I was very adamant. You know, I'm not the type of person, as much as it might seem like, you know, I might, you know, somehow be narcissistic. I was, you know, at that point, I had recorded at least 10, maybe around 10 records.
Oh gosh,
me
okay,
on
so
the
quite
cover.
a few. Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, and so my whole thing was, I was like, I'm tired of having my face on the cover, or just me on the cover. I wanted to do something more powerful, and that was an issue with the head of the label at the time. And as you can see, the funny thing is that for those that have the CD, if you turn the CD over, he still snuck a picture in the corner. I was like, what sense does this make in the world? I'm like, just let it be the art that it is.
Yes.
It was so stupid. It was like right next to the UPC code of an otherwise beautiful panoramic thing. And this is like picture out of nowhere of me playing in a suit.
You know what? I remember that. Now I remember they don't want that, but many labels don't. Many labels don't. They want to. They really want to put the you know, the music. They just don't want nothing abstract. I remember now that. Yeah, but I'm glad we did it. I mean, of course, I wanted to take a photo of him, but you know, he was very young. I was working with all the other. He was my really first young generation. I really was very enthusiastic about this album, in a personal level, and I liked it. I like what he recorded. I listened to it, and I liked it a lot. So, but I don't know. I for me, it's a beautiful cover, and at the time we didn't even have the camera that I have now, with the shutter speed and everything, that you can make the water freeze. I mean, it was, and it's beautiful. I mean, and then you say, well, so much technology, and you know, it's the same.
And how did you, as a photographer, and again, I know we mentioned this briefly, but how did you try to ensure that Jeremy was feeling comfortable, inspired, natural, so that you could get, you know, that session? What do you do, or what did you do on that session to make him feel inspired?
I don't know.
Well, Jeremy, maybe you answer that. How did you feel on the day of that session, having the photos taken?
I felt like I never have these feelings, Fiona, of like, any kind of whimsy or any kind of thing like that. A lot of times it's just getting the job done. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
people after, you know. So I don't approach it with the soundtrack playing in my head and we're doing this, just because,
Yeah.
a lot of times I'm just awkward.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So it's never, I mean, and in terms of comfort, I mean, I guess, I mean, we've like we've already established, we were already good friends then, so there was no kind of barrier to break that way, and I remember her son coming out and helping us too, so family affair.
Excellent.
Yeah,
And
I
you
mean, I think it's true. Yeah, I forgot that.
but just you can tell just the chemistry that you two have, and I imagine just watching a session with you would be inspiring, because that's so important, that connection. And I don't think all musicians have that with photographers at all. And that's what's really lovely to explore this little bit, because the chemistry you two have, that working chemistry, is really clear just from the conversation. But as I say, you've known each other quite a while now. So how has it changed? So from that first session to kind of where you are now, I'm not sure. Yeah, could you talk me through perhaps the last session you did together, whether that was live or an album? What was the last project you did together?
That was
The jazz festival,
the festival in Uruguay, which I attended last January.
Okay.
And she took some great pictures. These were live pictures, both at the sound check and also at the concert itself. I'm sure she's, she'll get you some of those, but there was me in this nice white jacket and everything. And, it's one of my favorite photos.
Is it? Why is it one of your favorite photos?
Because I like the way the jacket looks.
Okay.
But it captures, me and the way that I play. So it captures me. It captured me quite well.
Okay. And Adriana, from your point of view,
But
how was that session?
you know what I think, Fiona? Oh, sorry. I was thinking something that I didn't want to miss, something that Jeremy said. When you're going to work with someone that even if you don't know, but right now you kind of, even if you don't know the person, there's so much information on online. But first of all, he's a very sharp dresser, Jeremy. Very sharp dresser. So I'm just looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Really looking forward. The stage on that particular festival, and the stars and the lighting and everything is just incredible.
Okay.
It's called Jazz Under the Stars. It's beautiful. And that is one of the few smallest festivals in the good sense of small that allows me to work directly with the lighting director. So the lighting is set up as the sound check. I have lighting check.
Wow, because that's not always the case, is it?
No, it's never the case. I remember when I met Herman Leonard, that is as well, I was allowed to put the light. So my father was a film director and he was a director of photography, and that's what I did, used to do lighting. So in this case, in this stage, I can do lighting. Yeah. Not that I do it myself, but I can direct the lighting and the technicians put it together. So those photos are the latest. It was this year or last year. And yeah, they are amazing. And when you have someone that is his talent, his natural talent, music playing, personality, all inspires you, and the group, the band is fantastic, and they're so well dressed. I do have to say that it's all a gift for me. I can't go wrong.
Because I think that's what's interesting. I know we've talked about this before. The kind of emotional connection. I think it's a standard thing when we talk to musicians about when they're performing, and that emotion and that intensity, that passion, of course. But we don't often explore that with photographers. But of course, the same thing is happening. Whilst you're shooting this incredible performance and connecting with those musicians, it's a very emotional thing for photographers as well, isn't it?
I had missed a shot because I cried.
Wow.
I had worked with Ron Carter, and I remember he didn't know that I missed the shot. I started crying.
Wow.
I had started laughing. Cedar Walton and Jeremy, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, once I enter the set, the pet, the stage, the club, once I enter the group, the backstage, I'm like a shadow. I'm invisible, but I am a shadow, and I'm into the music, and I am photographing their energy and their music. Then there's beauty around them, the aura of the aura and the energy that it just touches you. I mean, it hits you. When the trumpet sounds, when the drums or whatever, you feel it on the skin when you're working, because we're close. And if besides that there's visual, like a sharp dresser or a beautiful singer or a beautiful male, all beauty, but not beauty because it's perfect, because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Not beauty in the sense of defining beauty. I don't care what gender, color, or size, or don't care. Yeah. But it's just so much beauty that is just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. I mean, you just want to be there. You just want to do it, and you just can't stop shooting. You just can't, because it's just so powerful. It's just, and it's a blank. I don't remember being there. I don't know if I'm there 1 hour, 2 hours, and I don't really remember much of it. I don't remember much of it. My attention is, like you said, in a way, getting it done, not being seen, not stepping to someone, have the right settings. And then once all that technical is synced, I don't remember anything. I'm like them. I'm on the music, and I'm on what I am seeing and feeling. Because I only click when something hits my heart. It's not the eyes, it's the eyes of my heart. I mean, I hear something that creates an instant emotion in my finger. Is what I hear that creates that image. So basically, he gave it to me, and I did click. So it's like a wheel. I mean, he clicked that note, or she clicked that note, and I click, because it's just click. Yeah, it's just and if you know the music, you also know it's coming. That's a big advantage. I think I use it.
Yes, and I know we've talked about that before, the importance of understanding the music, and I know you spend an awful lot of time really trying to get inside the music and knowing, because finding those moments, finding that particular moment and capturing that moment is, especially I think in jazz, is hugely challenging if you don't understand the music, if you're not there in the moment. And obviously I think part of it is, as a musician, part of your role as a musician is to engage, but capturing those moments with a click. I mean, it's less than a second probably. I love the way you connect with the music, Adriana, and I said not all photographers do that, and I think that's one of the many things that does actually kind of set your work
I'm not
apart.
sure if that's the way it should be. I don't know. It's the way it is for me.
Yes,
it's what makes me do it. But it doesn't mean it has to be the other photographers that do portraits and things, and they do an excellent photo and they just do it from somewhere else. But I just can only say it to me, what happens to me. And it is also something that, because it happening to me, it's happening to the musician, because that's what they feel, and I am feeling the same. Of course, it goes into both the advantage of the whole team. But it doesn't mean that someone that doesn't feel like a photographer, that doesn't feel like I do, would not take a good photo.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I know we could chat for ages, but we haven't got very long left. So what I'd like to sort of end with, Jeremy, all the work that you've done with Adriana, what advice would you give to fellow jazz musicians, jazz artists, on working with photographers? Like, what have you, as a musician, what have you learned from Adriana that you think other people should know about to help them? It's not a trick question.
No, I think it's a relationship.
Mm.
And like any fruitful relationship that matures, the more you know, and at this point, I won't even say subject, right? I'll say the more you know the person, the more you connect, and in a beautiful way. You know, I mean, it's all about the relationship, where you can come across as cold, if that's the kind of relationship that you have, or you can come across, they can capture the warmth in you because everything's a study. You know, you meet somebody and you have a chemistry with them in a romantic sense, you're still studying to see how you can bring the best out of each other. And it's the same thing in a non-romantic sense, you know. And certainly the same thing, you know, when we talk about a work relationship based in art, you know. So you have to it's for anybody coming up, and I'm glad you asked that question. It's a very good one, especially I just got back from doing a residency over in Rochester at Eastman, and I was addressing the students, talking about the importance of relationships and understanding that this is still, despite the technologies and the way that it has created these, you know, cold types of connections, based off AI now, and you have all this and everything. But in this music, in this business, it's still a person, it's still a people business. You're in the business of people. And yeah, so that would be my you know, I guess if I was being avuncular, what you're asking me to be, that would be it, you know.
Okay. And Adriana, what would you say to photographers as far as working with musicians? What have you learned, or what would you share with others as kind of working with musicians such as Jeremy?
Well, I do agree, of course, with Jeremy. Is the relationship. Sometimes I've been now too long in the business, so I do know mostly everyone that I am going to be working with. But I remember when I didn't, and I have to connect through. I only see the beauty. I don't know sometimes nothing about the person. Jeremy, I got to know him because he was very young. I know his children. I know him for a very long time. But with other people that I had worked, I had no idea. I had never known their families or anything. But once I enter in contact, make eye contact first time with that person, I see beauty. It's the only thing I see, because there is anything else but it. But the I am, and that person plays that instrument from whatever you want to call it, comes from higher power, God, name it. I don't really care. But is the most incredible gift that has been given to that being on displaying. And another one was given to me, that I hear that sound and I see beauty and I can convert it, and I give my interpretation of that beauty. So it's a whole personal connection, yes. And after you develop a relationship like I had with, after so many years, you cherish it. You always have to be in good relationship, always. I'm not saying everybody's going to like you or you are going to like everybody, but you have to be extremely respectful. Extremely respectful, because you have 5, 10, 16, a big band in the stage, a whole festival, people that are really working very, very hard. And there is no time for your own personal feelings for who is next photographer, who is happening there. There isn't. There's only room to deliver. You have to deliver, and you have the only way to deliver is when you're calm and you see beauty. It's the only thing I can say. You have to be calm, you have to be quiet, you have to be invisible, all those things count. You have to be dressed properly. If you're a female, you don't have to make a division of gender, you just have to know your place. There's male, there are males and there are females. There's 16 men, and I come up with my camera and a miniskirt, and as much as I would love to, it's going to be a little bit distracting.
Sure.
Maybe I wait, you know, for when they're playing one night to hang out. That's what I'm saying. So you have to, there's a lot going on, because they are putting a professional thing in their clothing in there, and so do I. And you don't have to be wearing black. It's not that I have to be wearing black and be masculine or nothing. You can be invisible, because it's not what you're wearing, it's not your gender, it's not because you're a female or not, it's because of how you behave and how your energy is managed. It's your behavior and your energy. And you can come a long way with that, even if you're not a great photographer. Respect.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I'm just, because you said I see beauty, that's sticking with me. And I'm thinking, Jeremy, you're performing the beauty, and Adriana is capturing that beauty. That's just that kind of phrase.
Now imagine
a wonderful
all
way
the
to put it.
time that they spend practicing the band, sound check, the clothing, what he's going to wear, everything, writing, or even if it's a composition that, whatever. And I'm just going to go there, distract or anything.
Of course.
Mean, so just in there, I think that it was a gap. You know, I love Herman Leonard because I got to know him in his last days. So after him, and when I started, it was a big gap. But I just reinitiated my career in the same framework that the elders did. And it had never failed me. And I don't stop being a female. I have been in a big band. I've been in an orchestra with the Lincoln Center. I never had a problem being a female. I never had a problem with anything like that, because it's your behavior, it's your response, and it's your energy, and it's your relationship with each one of them. This is what you need. That's what I think.
Yeah, honestly, and thank you so much. And so I know I would love to chat to you for ages. And you know what I'd love to do? One day we'll make it happen. I'm just thinking how amazing it would be to actually film you taking photos of a gig of Jeremy's. To actually capture, I would love. Can you imagine? So you doing a performance, and I mean, just to actually capture that whole moment. So both of your moments. That would be such a wonderful thing to see. Both of you kind of doing your thing and capturing. Oh, yes, I'm quite. You'll either have to come over to London or I'll have to come to New York, but I would love, that would be really wonderful to see. But thank you so much for joining me. And it's been a lovely conversation. And I'm sure whoever's watching this will have found that really incredible. And thank you both for your incredible work. You are both inspiring. And I love that we will be able to connect those two things, because you are both artists. And when we have two beautiful artists working together, we can see the product, if you like, what comes out of that. So thank you both so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy, for joining. Thank you, Fiona.